Welcome in, everybody, to Inside the Burrow. It's been a brief bit since we've been to you, but we're back. Mike Birdman, Kevin Fielder, Robbie LaStella here on Inside the Burrow. Got a lot to talk about, but guys, how's it going?
Good, man.
It's going great. It's going great.
Long time no see. Kevin, I miss him. I miss seeing his.
I miss you too, Mike.
I miss seeing his supple cheeks around FAU campus. But that's fine. Sure, he'll make an appearance again soon, right?
Well, I'll be home for Thanksgiving. I don't think there's any games around that time in Florida, but
we got one on the 30th at the Burrow, which is not too far off from Thanksgiving. I hope you stay for a few days and join us for the Florida Gulf Coast game.
I will unfortunately have to be back in Kansas by then. So
you are so soft.
I know.
Kansas is holding Kevin hostage at the moment. That FGCU game is an important get-back game. Gotta remind them, that was just a one-off last year.
We were ranked 8th in the country when that happened.
That was like a program-defining win for FGCU. That was.
They have never stopped talking about the time they beat top 10 ranked FAU. Like that is the only thing they talk about.
Which is insane that our college in Little Boca Raton was the 8th ranked team in the country when we lost to Florida Gulf freaking Coast University.
Pat Chambers got the best of us.
I guess you can't, that's why they play the games, right? If the team that's favored always won every game, sports would be very boring, right? So
we also would not have a Final Four run if that happened. So I'm very glad games are played on a court.
Exactly. Yep. So
Pat Chambers got the best of us. That was probably a more important win than he ever got at Penn State. Got canned from there. But speaking of getting canned, firing, we've had some news at FAU in the football department. Rock Bellantoni, defensive coordinator, Ed Warren, our offensive line coach, both let go as the team fell to 2-7. I felt, for me personally, the moves were what they were. Rock and Ed, both very stand-up people, but at the end of the day, it's a business. College football is a business, and whether or not, now was the right time to make the move is up for debate. But, at the end of the day, I feel like probably those moves were going to get made, whether it was now or the end of the season, just by the way things have gone this season. And yeah, we'll see what the final couple games of this schedule have in store. I don't think we'll see anything really too monumental over these next 3 games, but we do get to see Kason Wiseman in a starting role, which potentially could be a future option at quarterback for the Owls heading into next year, maybe with a new offensive coordinator in the mix. Who knows what changes will be made.
The only thing I wonder if they do, because there's 3 games left on the year?
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder if they just play a whole bunch of freshmen, because now the redshirt rule is no longer come into effect.
Might not be a bad idea. It might not be guys. I don't know that they will. But I mean, I've been wrong about everything this season regarding.
I think we all have,
which is fine. I remain a huge Tom Herman fan. I'm a big fan of Tom Herman on and off the field. I think he's great. So I got to trust him in his decision making regarding shaking up the staff. I do like Rock and Ed. I think they're great people. And of course, we wish them the best and hope they land on their feet, whatever they choose to do after FAU. As far as Temple this weekend, just win. I've got nothing else to say about that. Just win. They're both 2-7 teams. We're like, this is like kind of like a real low for the program. I don't really remember a time in history, maybe aside from like a Carl Pelini year, where we've felt this down about where we are with football.
I think.
So I really feel like there's nothing we can really do but improve. Another loss, I don't know if I'd be any more upset than I am now. But that's all I have. I really don't have much. Just win.
I think the thing that's so unique about this, right, and this was something I was thinking about a few days ago, because there's been all the comparisons and the parallels to the Willie Taggart era, and it never felt like this, because even with Willie Taggart, they were competing for a bowl game spot late into the year. Like, it's not – I think it's so different when you're, 9 games into a year and you've already know you can't make a bowl game, right? And it's like at some point you're just playing for pride. And it's like –
yeah, but Kevin, is the pride even there anymore? You know what I mean?
It doesn't feel like it.
Like, how are these guys? These guys just lost, and again, I trust Tom Herman. But from a player standpoint, these guys who are loyal to their defensive coach don't have him anymore, right? So how are they gonna react? That's what I'm most interested to see. I think this weekend, regardless of whether we win or lose, I'm kind of most interested to see how the team reacts to the shakeup.
Yeah, it's a very unique situation, and it is really the unfortunate part of the business, right? Because I think we all agree that Rock Bellantoni was an awesome person, and he's a good football coach, and he's done a lot for this university. The unfortunate thing is that, and Rock will tell you this as well, he's been pretty public about this, was that the defense just wasn't playing well. And the unfortunate part of it is that when you get to a point where it feels like changes need to be made, changes get made. And it's weird because I also think I'm really excited to see what Brandon Harris does with this defense, because he's another coach who's incredibly well respected and a guy who I know people really like, but it's in such just a weird circumstance of, knowing that the guy who he replaced was someone who was incredibly, one of the better ambassadors for the football program that the program has almost ever seen.
Yeah.
And the fact that he truly loved Boca, he truly loved FAU. If anyone's wondering, the stuff that he said about FAU and Boca, that's not for show. That's truly what he believes about the university and about the people and about the area. And so it is unfortunate. And I mean, as Mike said, just go out and win, man. There's nothing else you can really say. This is a bad Temple team. And just go out and find a way to win.
If you're not going to win, at least go and make it look like you're trying to win.
Yeah.
Anyway, can we move on from football? I think it's kind of
I think that was enough football.
Yeah. Let's talk about something good.
Last note, you mentioned the freshmen. A bunch played last week versus East Carolina. Lawrence Johnson played a lot at corner.
I'm holding my ground, and I'm not talking about football.
Yeah, we saw Jamari Sands as well. And so it's like you mentioned, it's possible we see freshmen this week. We shall see what Temple unfolds. I don't know if it'll be a win or a loss, but we shall see. And shifting gears a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got to talk about the good. Just got to get the unfortunate in there early on. But the good is the basketball team at the moment. Even though they had a tough 194 loss to UCF, there was good and bad. The bad being the defense, which John Jacobs acknowledged. He said it right off the bat. Said it's hard to be encouraged with the way the defense played, but he went on to say he's going to trust the offense and make the adjustments needed to improve the defense the best they can in a short time. Charleston will come up pretty quickly. But, positives from that game is you put up 94 against a team that's going to be competing against Big 12 teams. They're preparing to try to play against Kansas. Kansas State, two very good, as Kevin knows, offensive firepower teams. So we played them hard, in my opinion. And like he said, the defense, it was an issue. So I'm curious your guys' thoughts on the good and the bad from that one.
Since I actually made it to the game, Kevin, can I go first?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks, dude. So I saw a lot more good than bad. When I at that game, I think we could all agree. We're in a really good spot in basketball right now. Coach Jacobs is the right guy for this program. I'm 100% convinced in that. Even more so now after watching them play at UCF. That did not look like a team to me that was playing their third real game together. No. That looked like a team that's been together for years, and I feel like they really had a good sense of where each other were on the court. I know that the defense could have been better, but the offense was great. We put up 94 points on UCF, a Big 12 team, a Q1 game on the road in front of a hostile crowd, third game of the year.
Throwing hot dogs.
I mean, that's a game where 5 years ago we would have lost by at least 20 points.
Yeah, quite possible.
Right? And for us to go up there as a team, fresh off of playing two teams that we were way better than both those teams we just played, right? So it was hard to really gauge on how good we were. But we hung. They had to throw everything they had at us. They didn't it wasn't an easy win for them. They literally threw everything they had at us. And I will say this, Matas is a freshman. He is, in my opinion, far beyond where Vlad was at the same time. I think he's much better. I think he's going to be much better than Vlad is going to be this year at Michigan. Okay. Matas got an early second foul, which was really, really unfortunate because when he got that foul, I think did we have a 12-point lead?
Something like that.
Double digit, yeah.
It was a double digit lead. And I remember looking at it and I was like, man, this reminds me a lot of those games where Vlad would get 2 early fouls and he would come out. And when you go to the ESPN, like that little graph that they have on win probability, right? There were a lot of times where like it was a V, right? And the win probability would be like, boom, FAU, real high. And then Vlad would foul out for the first half. He'd get that second foul and have to be on the bench. And for the next like 10 minutes, that V would like start to go back up to the middle somewhere. And then Vlad would come in the second half and it would shoot back down. That's the kind of impact that Matas, I feel, is having on the court already. In such an early time in the season. It reminded me a lot of that. Because when he did come out, they went on like a 12-0 run, basically. We didn't score for I remember watching the bleeding, and I was like, man, I got to stop this bleeding. But we fought back. And I know we were down at half, 10 points, and that was kind of rough. But we won the second half. We outscored them 4 points in the second half, and we lost by 6. So we lost by 2 buckets to a Big 12 team on the road, third game of the season with a brand new team and a brand new coaching staff. I mean, if that is not something that you could be positive about and just be like, man, I'm so excited. We had a kill in the second half that got us back in the game, right? Like we all saw that. I looked at my wife. I was like, Katie, if we have a kill, we're back in this. And boom, we had a kill. They're good. They could shoot. They're fast in transition. We get dunked on. They hit a 3. Boom. We inbound the ball, and before they even know it, we're back. On the other side of half court. I'm excited for Charleston. I feel bad for Charleston because I think we're gonna go in there tomorrow night and run them off their own court. I really do. I know they're sneaky good, but I think this is a trap game for them. I don't know what else to say about it, man. It's unfortunate. It's a game we had a chance to get the dub. It would have been nice to have it, but the fact that we lost that game isn't bad. It's not going to hurt us. There's a lot to learn from that game and a lot to be excited about moving forward. That's my opinion on it.
The thing that is important to realize is that UCF last year was bad. Last year's UCF team was bad. This is a completely different basketball.
They beat Kansas last year, Kevin.
They were still bad. They
beat Kansas on that court. They weren't awesome, but they weren't.
But this is also an entirely different UCF team.
They're good.
Jordan Ivy Curry. I know every FAU fan knows about Jordan Ivy Curry. He's one of the best scorers in college basketball.
He dropped 32 points on us last year at UTSA.
Keyshawn Hall, the little the 6'7" wing / forward that they have,
little 6'7" little guy.
Yeah, little. Well, that's because their center's 7'2", so he is little compared to their center.
He's not that good, honestly.
Very raw, very raw. But Keyshawn Hall, incredibly talented, man. That guy would be a day one starter on most college basketball programs. And their guards, Darius Johnson, is a really good point guard. This is a UCF team that beat Texas A&M, who's 18th in Ken Pom to start the year. This is a UCF team that had a little bit of a struggle against Indiana, Fort Wayne, or Purdue Fort Wayne.
Fort Wayne, yeah.
Yeah, but also if anyone knows who Purdue Fort Wayne is, that's going to be one of the better mid-major teams in their conference. They are a threat to win that conference, and so the fact that FAU went into Orlando and played that game as close as they did, and had runs to get it back into the game to build leads, this is the third game of the year, guys. No team looks perfect 3 games in.
No, especially a team that's completely rebuilt aside from Trey Carroll, right?
Yeah, I mean,
completely rebuilt. Not only the team but the coaching staff, right?
And the fact that they had. The truth is, was it perfect? No, I think the defense needs a ton of work. The defense, the biggest issue with the defense is they don't know where each other are on the court, it feels like. And it feels like they're lost in terms of where to switch and where to rotate. And that's entirely why I think UCF got some really open looks at the 3-point line, and like the second chance points, the rebounding has got to get cleaned up because you can't give teams second chances. Those are easy points.
Yep.
Especially
think
a team like UCF that's so big. They were
Yeah,
big. They
a
were
team
big.
like-
They were a big team. Yeah, they're
I
gonna.
think
they
FAU won the offensive rebound battle in that one. Funny enough,
they are
Yeah.
For anyone wondering, UCF is 56th in average height according to KenPom. So they are one of the taller teams in the country, and they play their taller guys as well. The biggest thing on the offensive end, right, is I think the guards are good. Leland Walker is a really good basketball player.
What do you have? 20? He had 20 points.
20, something like that. Baba Miller is
minutes.
Baba Miller. I know he's not shooting well every night. He's doing a lot of stuff that no one else on the court can do, that only Baba Miller can do.
He had that Euro step, and I wish he got that bucket underneath. Did you watch that?
Yeah, it was.
That was so nice. Like, he's so long. It's like he takes 2 strides and he's like at the basket from half court.
Now,
it's insane to watch. It's insane to watch him move. I honestly, I wish he was a little less long. I feel like he'd be more effective, right? Like, especially with some of the dribbling.
the biggest concern I have, and you guys may disagree with me, is it doesn't feel like this team has any more than 6 guys that they really trust right now. Because I think, like, you could tell.
I think it's 7.
It might be 7 with Moretti, because Moretti is a guy who played really well against Indiana State, but he also looked raw against UCF, right? And like that may just be the competition thing. You may just be playing better competition, so we'll see how he looks against Charleston. But
he
they
looked
really
Coastal wherever the other day.
Coastal Georgia.
Like, he looked great. He looked great against Indiana State too. Moretti, super underrated player, I think. And I think he hasn't even. I think he's going to have a breakout at some point.
The concern for me is that I don't know if this is a team that can win games down the stretch if they've only got 7 guys that they can trust. And this is not panic button because we're 3 games into a basketball season.
Here's the thing though, Kevin. I think Max is going to be in that mix too eventually.
But when is he available? That's the thing, right?
He played briefly against Coastal Georgia the other day.
Just my general concern about this, right, is that I think Vanterpool, I think Max, I think even Trey Carroll. Like, I don't think Trey Carroll is as bad as he was against UCF, right? Like, that's not who Trey Carroll is.
Trey Carroll could be good. He's a little clunky, And
yeah, he's just clunky. It looks like he's still trying to get back into.
He gets caught on his own feet.
It looks like he's trying to get back into playing at a high level, because even if you think to last year, right, like he was never a consistent part of the rotation.
Right.
He was in the rotation when Rosado was hurt. He was in the rotation when guys needed rest, but he was never like a staple in the rotation. And so I'm not like, this is not panic button, but also like you can't dig yourself into a hole in non-conference as well. And I don't think FAU will, but if you look at their non-conference schedule down the stretch, like there are absolutely games on that schedule that they feel like they need to win, whether it's for resume building, whether it's to become a potential at-large team. And I know the big talk has been like, is the American a 1-bid or a 2-bid league? Historically, it's been a 2-bid league. I don't think that's much different this year. I think they will probably be 2 bids. It really depends on who wins the conference. If it's like Memphis wins the conference, or actually, no, not Memphis, but UAB wins the conference, or FAU wins the conference, right? And they're like the best team in the conference.
Take a loss.
They lost to Vermont. Vermont's a good basketball team.
Yeah, but they're not. They shouldn't be losing.
But like I'm looking at the schedule down the stretch, right? Like you have Liberty, you have Charleston,
Oklahoma State.
You have Oklahoma State,
and it could be Miami, and it could be
Miami, could be
Seton Hall, which now is
not. I would love to play.
That's a team I'd want to play right now, because that Seton Hall team looks like they're lost on the court. But like,
give me a Big East team.
Like those are the games that you have to win, right? Like the Michigan State game later on in the year, you win that game, that's awesome. Congrats. Like that's a huge program defining win or a season defining win. You don't win that game, it doesn't matter. Like
right.
Truth
it's like the UCF game. It only helps us.
It only helps FAU, but it could only hurt UCF or Michigan State. And that's like the very important thing to realize, guys, is that like FAU is not these programs where every game feels like it's a must win for expectations purposes. Because the truth is, as long as you're playing your best game down the stretch, the American could be good enough where if you win enough of those games, you've built yourself as a 2-bid league.
It's so funny because last year, after coming off the Final Four, all those games in November, especially the ones at Disney, they felt like those must-win games.
It was very different because
it felt like March in November. I remember looking over. I was standing next to Brian White in the stands in Disney. I think we were playing Virginia Tech, and I looked at him. I'm like, "This is crazy. This feels like March.
It feels like you have to win it, and it's like
it shouldn't feel like this in November. It shouldn't feel like this, but it does.
That Charleston tournament, not this one, but the second one, it could have that same type of feeling. Listen, I understand. It's a year one. The pressure to win isn't like it was last year, knowing that you had that Final Four roster back, but that environment's going to be good. You go into that game. You go into that tournament and come out with 3 straight wins, you can find yourself getting a lot of –
or even 2 wins. You go out with 2 wins and you lose the championship game. There's a lot of momentum that can be won or lost in that stretch of 3 games.
Yeah. And I think that's why. So for me, this next stretch is actually really important because it's after this, it gets a little bit easier. You play FIU, FGCU, Texas State, and Jacksonville before that Michigan State game. These 5 games, if you win 4 out of 5, and especially if you win all 5 in a row, this team is back in the conversation on the national level, in my opinion.
Interesting thing to note is I'm looking at the Ken Pom win predictions or the win probability.
Up since UCF?
We stayed the same as right after UCF.
They're at 85 still. They're next. God, I don't even know how to count. From Charleston to Rice on January 19th. So that's a big chunk of the year. And it includes games against UAB, Charlotte, who looks pretty good, ECU, who looks solid, Tulane, who's a very big question mark, I think, in the conference in general.
We're gonna beat Charlotte by 15 points.
But in terms of that stretch from Rice or from Charleston to Rice, FAU is favored in every game except 3, which is Charleston this week, or Charleston tomorrow, and they are a 1 point. It is a toss-up.
Yeah,
they have it as a toss-up.
You know what? I feel like the Charleston game if it was on a neutral court, we'd be favored, and if it was at both, it would be like 80%.
So Ken Pom does shift for home court advantage.
I'm aware of that, and the fact that they're playing on home gives them probably a huge advantage.
It is considered a toss-up by Ken Pom, though, so it is effectively like flip a coin. We don't feel comfortable either way.
They're not better. They're not better than UCF.
No, absolutely
not even close. Not even close. So I think we're gonna honestly, and I just feel really good about this weekend. I think we're gonna come away with 2 wins.
The only other 2 losses is Michigan State on the road, which is a 10-point loss according to Ken Pom, and that's still a few weeks away. So things change and things shift. And then they predict that FAU will lose. They're still giving Memphis a lot of credit. I'm going to be honest. They're giving Memphis a lot of credit.
They've looked good through 2 games, to be fair.
Come on. We do this every year with Memphis. This is not a Memphis podcast. We do this every year with Memphis, though. But there are games absolutely where you can put yourself in a position heading into the final stretch of games where it does get to some degree a little tougher. You have to play North Texas twice. You have to play UAB. You have to play Memphis. You have to play Wichita State, who's looked really good this year.
Justin Hill is going to be a problem.
And the team that I don't think anyone's talking about, and not in football, but in basketball, Temple, if they're willing to not gamble away their season, literally, Jamal Mashburn Jr. is one of the best players in the American.
Lynn Greer's not even there yet. It's kind of like UCF with Jordan's with Sellers.
But it's like –
and Mike Williams sitting on the bench, too.
But there are certainly games down the stretch where FAU can put
best shooter off the court. Did I say that? I said that. Yeah. He shot at a car. What is he doing playing college basketball?
It was funny with UCF. I was curious. I was on the podcast with Rocco Miller before that, and if there's anyone in college basketball, it's to me, it's like Kelvin Sampson, Johnny Dawkins. I could have Mikey Williams and Dior Johnson on their team, have no problems with it, and potentially turn their careers around. He's a good builder, but it is funny, and I feel bad for UCF fans because they take a lot of heat for it on Twitter.
There's 3 teams in the world that would touch Mikey Williams, and he's been on 2 of them already.
Touched him.
he's been on 2 of them already. The other one's Alabama.
Can we go to Charleston? I think we should go to Charleston now. talk about Mikey Williams for the next 5 minutes.
All right, sorry. Yeah.
But going into
Hang on,
Charleston,
I'm pulling up Charleston on my phone.
I think this game is the one you want to have rather than the second half of the back-to-back. You want this game first. I think Charleston's a lot tougher than Liberty will be. Credit to Liberty. They're very solid defensively, but Charleston is a very sound on both sides of the ball. And they got a returning player who has really impacted for them in Ante Brzovic, 6'10", kind of plays inside and out for them. He's averaging 30 points so far in their 2 games. He's going to give FAU probably the biggest problem down low so far. He's a lot more developed than Thiem, albeit 4 inches shorter than him. And they've also gotten a lot of production out of CJ Wilson, who last year only averaged 4 a game. Now he's up to 16 through 2 games, and he's still assisting at a high ratio running the offense. So they've got it rolling under Chris Mack. They're going to have the home cooking at the Field of 68 tournament for Chris Mack, who worked for them last year, as long as the actual home, as well as the actual home court advantage. So a lot looking good for Charleston. What are you guys thinking about him?
I think Charleston's biggest guy is 6'11".
Yeah, but they have a 6'11" and a 6'2", a 6'10" guy who both play together.
6'10". Coach Jacobs built like a high major quality team, right? He really did, and I just think we're gonna be too fast and too powerful for them. I really do. I think we're same with Liberty. Liberty. I mean, I haven't even looked at Liberty, but if their team's anything like it was last year, we're gonna.
Liberty's lacking the size for FAU, in my opinion.
Yeah,
they can beat Liberty pretty easily.
I think Liberty's going to be a cakewalk. Charleston will be tough because we're playing on their court.
The thing that concerns me about Charleston is that FAU wants to play fast, right? Like they've proven through 3 games, they want to play fast. They want to run in transition. Yeah. They want to play with tempo.
Down the ball, catch them off guard.
The thing that Charleston, does really well is that they find ways to limit possession time for other teams. The thing that concerns me about this Charlotte or the Charleston, I don't know why I keep saying Charlotte, this Charleston game, is that I think, is it Brzovic? What
I think it's
Brzovic. What?
He's the points. Yeah, he's their points leader.
He's their best player.
I remember him from last year. He's their dude.
He is the thing that he is so weird about. And I went back and I watched one of their, I think it was the South Florida game where they played South Florida early on this year.
He shoots 69%.
He can shoot the ball from 3. He's shooting 50% from 3 on like 3 shots a game. He can shoot he can run the offense as a guard, as a forward kind of thing, right? It's like he's a very unique player. Now, I think the thing that FAU has in their favor is that Baba Miller feels like one of the few guys in mid-major basketball who has the length to stop him. I don't know if he has the physicality to stop a guy like Brzovic or whatever I think he's Balkan, so whatever the Balkan pronunciation is for that name, but he is Croatia. So he's Balkan. He's a very unique player.
Zagreb, Croatia.
I think that CJ Fulton, their guard, is like a really solid guard. I don't think he's anything special. Like he's not a game changer, high major level point guard, but he's solid, right? He doesn't really mess up a lot. And that's a concern when you're playing a team like Charleston, because Charleston also wants to play fast. And with the guys that they've got on the court, their size can be a difference in the half court as well. And so it is really I don't think I'm in the same boat as Mike, where I'm like, this is a game where if it was at FAU's court, they'd be favored by 80%. Or no, I think that these two teams are to some degree evenly matched. And they both play very similar brands of basketball in the sense that they want to run fast, they want to play fast, they want to use the size that they've got to their advantage. The biggest thing is, man, if Matas gets into foul trouble again early, this is a game where it can get ugly quickly, because I think as FAU has proven to some degree, they don't have an answer. They don't have size off the bench right now, and you would have to run small with Baba at the 5 and Caleb Glenn in there or Trey Carroll in there, and Caleb Glenn is lengthy and he's athletic, but he's not strong. He's not going to be able to beat you in the post, right? And so I do wonder if they try and go small a little bit earlier to try and force the bigs out of the paint a little bit more. And if that's the case, the guards have to get penetration because they weren't getting penetration against UCF. And a lot of their drive action and a lot of their action of trying to get to the rim, at least in the stretch where UCF was able to take that lead heading into halftime, was largely because the guards weren't getting penetration often. And so if you can get penetration on them and you can force them to collapse on you, this is a game that you can win if you shoot the ball well.
So they're 6'11" forward. Lazar, I'm going to mess this up. Djokovic. All right, thank you, Kevin.
That one I can pronounce.
Okay. He only played one. He didn't only played the first. Looks like he only played one game.
He played in both games.
It says right here, game played 1. Minutes 28.
He definitely played against South Florida. He may have not played against Southern Illinois, but I think he thought he did.
I think for FAU in this one,
he did play against Southern Illinois. He played both games.
We saw Montas Koshanas in the first 2 games. He's really raw, but at some point they're going to have to try to get something out of him.
They don't have to. They don't have to. I mean, they can play small off the bench, but this is just like the one game where playing small off the bench probably hurts you.
So I'm just looking. I don't think it's a good. I don't know. I'd probably feel a little different maybe if they didn't. I don't know. I just don't see Charleston. I don't know.
The thing that's concerning to me
I don't see them how you're seeing them. I really don't.
The thing that's concerning to me about it, right, is that like there's never a time where they go small, and part of that is because Brozovic plays 36 minutes a game effectively, and so the only time where he's off the floor, Djokovic is on the floor, right, and like. I think that like FAU is a team that can play like when they can get teams smaller, they can play better because Baba is such a unique basketball player in the sense that he can play as a 5, he can play as a 3, as a 4, even like play some point guard, some point forward type of basketball. But like, I don't know if you're able, and I could be wrong, right? Like we could be talking about this next week and I could have been completely wrong about how Charleston approached this matchup. But like, the concern for me is that this is a team that wants to play big. So
when I look at these games, a lot of the times I look at the team stats like pinned against each other. You know where it shows them like points per game, points against.
Later on in the year, I do that, but when it's only been 3 games for each team, or 2 games for each team, like it's sort of hard to gauge.
We've played 3, they've played 2. We've played 1 much harder than the 2 they've played, and we still put up 94. And against UCF, and they haven't put up more than I don't know. They're averaging 88.
They put 90 up against Southern Illinois.
Okay,
Southern
Illinois they're right there. Say 89. There's that, and then the points against they're giving up more than us. Also,
I don't think that this is a game where like they can't win, right? Like I don't like this is just the concerning part of this game is that when you look at stylistically and approach wise, right? Like. Charleston doesn't ever go small, and it's going to be a unique challenge for FAU, I guess, because they haven't played a team that isn't able or doesn't want to go small. UCF played small against them when they needed to play small against them, and Indiana State played small against them, and Coastal Georgia is just Coastal Georgia, right? Like you're going to just dominate them size-wise regardless. But like when you're playing a team like Charleston, who I think doesn't want to go small at any point, and that they play big, they play Brozovic for 36 minutes, 37 minutes a game. And those minutes where he's not on the floor, they've got another 6'11" guy who plays 25 minutes. So, like, I just think that, like, the general concern is that, like, I want to see how they handle having to play big the entire game.
They really kicked the crap out of USF, especially in the second half. I haven't watched it. Did you have a chance to watch it?
I watched a little bit of the first half and then some of the second half. I didn't get the chance to watch it.
They outscored them by like in the teens, like it looks like 16 points or something.
Yeah, they dominated in the second half when they were able to get to their tempo and get to their pace a little bit in the second half. They were when Charleston can dictate the game through their pace, which they can do a good job of against some opponents. I don't think FAU is a team that like because FAU can play fast as well, and so like I don't know if it's a problem if FAU has to play fast kind of stuff, but like when they can go fast, when they can play with tempo. They are a very challenging team to play just because like it's the case with any basketball game. And like Dusty May had talked about this a lot is that like when you play at another team's pace, you're effectively losing the game.
Right.
because the other team is comfortable playing at that pace. Like you want to force the game to your pace, and the unique thing is that both teams play at a very similar pace. I think Charleston might play a little bit faster, but the difference is a couple possessions a game in terms of pace. So like, it's not enough to be like, well, they play fast, and you FAU doesn't know. It's like they both play incredibly fast. So like, this is going to be a game that gets into the 70s, 80s. Like, it's just going to be.
I think 80 points, first to 80. Like
it might feel like a game where first to 80 wins.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Charleston has scored 80, what you mentioned, 88 points per game. FAU's up there as well.
First to 80, and then the other team's going to chase.
I'm going to
say
say this.
If we could start out strong like we did against UCF, I think it's going to be really challenging for Charleston to switch it up and chase us down.
The first team.
Robbie's quiet over there. What's going on, Robbie?
No, I was just looking. I think Charleston, to me, if they can't get going early, I don't think they have a chance to really come back in this game. I don't think they have the firepower offensively.
I disagree. I disagree. I think the way that they play, they are capable of hurting runs away.
I don't see it, and I hope you're wrong, Kevin. Oh,
I do too. Let's be clear.
I hope I could come back on this podcast next week and make fun of you and call you a silly billiken. But I don't see it. But we're going to find out tomorrow.
I will say the thing that feels like this is another game where you had mentioned it, Mike, where like if FAU gets a run in the second half, they can make this a game. If FAU gets a run in the second half, they can win this game. Because I think it's going to be close in the first half. Both teams are just going to be trading shots. And it's like whoever gets that first run of like, I think they call it a kill shot, the 10-plus run. The first team to do that feels like that's the team that takes advantage in this game.
I feel like we know we could win now. I feel like after UCF, they know they could win. They got kicked in the nuts a little bit, with that loss. Again, it wasn't a bad loss. It was okay to drop that game. It would have been nice to have. But they want to win, man. I don't think Charleston's going to stop them. I really don't. I just got a really good feeling about it. Looking at the numbers, I feel like they don't match up to us, but we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. Yeah. We also have the Mike Tyson fight tomorrow.
It's going to be a game between two very evenly opponents that, both of these teams could potentially be battling for an at-large bid at the end of the season.
FAU as at-large bid 2 years in a row would be out of control. It would be absolutely out of control.
And the winner of this game could potentially have an advantage should they, match up together on that last spot or something like that. So it's an important game to win. And I'm Liberty back to back after that. It's not, Liberty doesn't have the size necessarily as FAU, but they're not going to have to play back to back.
They're shorter than me.
And with them not having to play a back-to-back, they're going to come in there with some defensive energy, which if FAU is tired, that could potentially help them stay in the game early. But I don't think that's a game where FAU loses. I think that's a game where they win, late.
You have to beat Liberty, man. Like, if you can't beat Liberty, like, what are we doing? It's like that's.
I don't think we're going to have I don't think we have to worry about Liberty. Knock on wood. Charleston, I think we're gonna run right through them. I really do. I really, really do.
We shall see. Field of 68 tournament this weekend from Charleston. Following that, FAU's kicking off the Charleston Shriners Classic. Thursday, they'll play Oklahoma State. Friday, they would play the winner of Miami versus Drake. And if they win that, they're in the championship. Could potentially see.
So they Charleston for the entire week?
Yeah.
They left Orlando yesterday. They're just staying up there.
Yep.
Oh, damn. So they haven't even been back to Boca since Orlando, or did they come back
yesterday? But yeah, they're up in Charleston for 2 weeks. I might run up there on Thursday next week.
Oh Lord,
I'll be there.
Nice.
So Mike, if you're coming, say hi. Charleston's pretty. I've heard Charleston's nice. I've never been there.
I'll see you if I'm there.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. It should be good basketball. But folks, thank you for tuning in to this week's Inside the Burrow. We shall see you next week.
Quick. Who do you got?
Last word?
Tyson, Jake Paul. Who do you got?
Tyson.
Yeah, I like Tyson in that one.
All right, that's it.
Make a good storyline.
Iron Mike.
Folks, Iron Mike on the right, Kevin Fielder down on the left. I'm Robbie LaStella. We will see you guys next time.